Hello, so the name of the activity I chose is The Greedy Triangle by Sabrina Magro. And I wanted to shoot for third grade, and obviously math and English is the subject. The lesson, I was guessing 60 minutes, but towards the end of this, I began to realize it's probably going to be a little longer. It might be broken up into 2 classes. And then the standard is understanding that shapes in different categories, rhombuses, rectangles, and others may share attributes having 4 sides, and that the shared attributes can define a larger category. They recognize rhombuses, rectangles, and squares as examples of quadrilaterals, and draw examples of quadrilaterals that do not belong to any of these subcategories. So my goal was for the kids to integrate math and literature to demonstrate understanding of the various geometry shapes and their shared attributes. And the objective of the lesson is to demonstrate the ability to interpret the shapes and their different categories, as well as recite the various names of each shape. By the end of this, I do hope that when I draw a shape on the board, my students will be able to name it in a minute or in a second, as soon as they see it, or that I'm able to name it and they're able to draw it. That's what I hope for. And then for multiple intelligence addressed, verbal linguistic would be speaking, listening, and writing notes, because you'll see later that they will be writing notes, and they have to listen to when I read the book or when the YouTube video reads the book, and then speaking, like collaborating with their students and with their classmates, and then speaking together as a class. For logical and mathematical, critical thinking / classifying, they'll be critically thinking throughout the whole lesson. And then for classifying, I would like this shape is a rhombus, this shape is a square, these are all quadrilateral, like that, classifying it like what they are, where they belong. And then illustrating, they get to read the book, and then after they get to draw the shapes on the board, so illustrating the shapes. And then the hands-on activities they will be doing for body kinesthetic, they're hands-on activities that will be completed later on. I will show you that. I don't want to give it away yet. And then cooperative groups, obviously they will be getting into groups sometime during the lesson. Interpersonal would be the cooperative learning or the group work, and the interpersonal personal response exit ticket. There will be an exit ticket at the end. And the assessments will be conducted through observations, discussions, and questions. Students will split up into groups and demonstrate their understanding through completing their own T-charts and illustrations of shapes within the chart. So I'm going to break them up into groups and have them complete T-charts. I will explain that later on too. So the strategies to meet diverse learners: if a student has an IEP, this lesson will be beneficial to them because it is visual, and they do get to see a YouTube video on the book, which is a visual presentation. And then it allows me to pause it so that I can write on the board any notes that they need to take. And then the notes are also visual because they see me writing it on the board. And then students will be broken up into groups, which will also be very beneficial towards them because they will be broken up into groups as well, so they can be the group members can help them and direct them or teach them, and they can just work together and they don't feel alone. For the materials, there is obviously a projector for the YouTube video. There will be a whiteboard to write down for when the activity is done, when they draw the shapes, and then, or when the teacher jots down the notes, or I do. Markers for the whiteboard, poster paper for when they complete the T-chart, the markers for the poster board, and the book, obviously, and then the exit worksheet. And then I will begin the lesson by showing them the Greedy Triangle, a physical copy of the Greedy Triangle. And then we will begin by discussing geometry and the beginning of shapes, such as triangle, square, rectangle, all the pretty, the newer shapes that you'll begin with that are easy and then go into as it gets more complicated. And then pictures to provide a visual for the students, which will be in the book, so they can see that as they're following along on YouTube. And then obviously I'll click the YouTube video, which I will show you a little gist of it, but not much. So it's just
Triangle, written by Marilyn Burns.
So it's just a lady.
There was a triangle
Catherine Chu is reading the book to the students, which I will have her read to them while we're in class on YouTube. And then, take me back. How do I go back? I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Where did it go? I'm sorry. Okay, so they will watch that YouTube video, and then after while the YouTube video is playing, we are going to pause it, and I am going to write on the board vocabulary words that are new to them or shapes that they saw. I'll draw that on the board, and we're just going to point out certain clues that they've seen or any new shapes, anything. And then I will also be asking questions like, what shape did you just see? Or what shape just came in, what shape is new on this page? Or anything like that. What color is the shape? Just to keep their brains moving as they watch it. And the rationale is for me to providing the book and YouTube video, it's to introduce the topic of geometry so that the book can grab their attention. Because geometry isn't the easiest subject, and sometimes it isn't the most entertaining. So I feel like providing the book, there's so much color and it's so vivid that the students can see that and it'll grab their attention. It's more of a cartoon version, so they're wanting to pay attention to that. And then the YouTube video, so that the lady, I forgot her name again, so that the author can read it to us, or the speaker can read it to us, the students, which allows me to pause the video so that I can write on the board and I have the chance to speak to my students as well. And I don't lose my page because I could just pause the video. And then for the through, I'm going to begin by introducing the book to the students. Then I will be showing them the YouTube video. And then, as I said before, during the video, I will pause for certain vocabulary and anything I feel is important that they need to know, while also asking questions. I'm sorry, excuse my dog. While also asking questions. And then, after the video, I will divide the students into groups of 4, and I'm going to pass out a huge poster paper. But there will already be a t-shirt drawn on it, so they don't have to spend time doing that. And, sorry, give me a minute. So, the students will be given a t-shirt, and it will already be made. So, one side will say polygon, and the other side will say not polygon. And then I will briefly explain to the students what they must draw, and what they think are polygons under the polygon side, and what they believe are not polygons under the non-polygon side. And then I will give them at least 15 minutes to work on that together in the group. And then once the 15 minutes is up, I want them to come up together and show the class what they have come up with, each group, and name the shapes that they put under each side. And then, where was I? Then they will work as a class on each poster that was made and decide if they were correct on one or if one wasn't correct, so that they can all see so they can run through it and see how, and that it allows me to see or assess them to see how they are doing. So the rationale for this, the video will be playing, obviously. So I've said it earlier, I'm sorry. I think I jumped ahead. To allow me to write down questions on the board or write down any new vocabulary or catch up on anything, so that it helps me to access my students a little quicker and their knowledge instead of reading and then I lose my page. And I just felt like a video would be a little more visual for them as well. And then once the students get into group, and then for having the students get into groups, I felt that would be a little smoother for the IEP students, so that they can learn within their group and maybe learn something new from their classmates or the classmates that can help them, and it'll teach them how to communicate as well. It's also working on their communication skills and teaching them how to collaborate. And then having the students work as a class to decide if what was written on the posters was correct or not correct helps me to assess them, to see who might stumble up on something that was correct but they thought wasn't. It just lets me see where they're at and how they're feeling about this lesson. And then if any mistakes are made, we can work together to fix them. That way we're fixing along the way and adjusting whatever needs to be adjusted. And then the beyond will be I think. Oh no. Okay. So the beyond will be after all of that is done and the T charts are made and the group work is done. The students, I will direct them to go back to their seats, and we will move on to each individual student writing a reflection. I want them to work alone at their seat, and then I want them to write a takeaway from the lesson anything that they thought of throughout the day that they didn't think of before, or anything important to them. And then I want the IEP students I want the aide to help the IEP students. I will have them walking around and checking on them to see if they need any help. That way they don't feel so alone or pressured or stumble or anything and feel awkward or embarrassed, because I know that's how I felt when I didn't feel as smart with the others, as intelligent as the other kids. So I feel like an aide would be a little smoother for them. And then after about 20 minutes, I will bring the class back and explain how to complete the exit ticket. I will also be handing out an exit ticket towards the end, and the exit ticket will be a few questions about the YouTube video. It's just like a summarization of what they've seen, pretty much, but it's just multiple choice questions, and they're just gonna answer what's asked, like, was there a rhombus in the book, or was there a square, and stuff like that. And then once the students feel they are done, they can hand it to me, and I will check it. And I will check the exit ticket to ensure that they've answered all of them, and then they are allowed to leave. And the rationale for me having the students reflect, it shows me what they're thinking or what level they're on or who may feel left behind, or just to assure me that they are doing okay. And if they aren't, I can fix it before moving on to the next step of the lesson the next day, that we can just refresh what was learned before. And then it also allows you to watch the progress and assess them the whole time. And okay, so yeah. And then I also feel like having an exit ticket helps me to ensure that they were watching the video the whole time, because if they know they are being quizzed on it, I know they will watch, or I hope that they will watch. And I think that's it. Thank you so much.